Thank you for in the midst of every church, every family, every district that's represented. And God, we're just grateful for the opportunity to gather together. Thank you for just the response of those who have jumped on, those who will join us shortly, and those who will watch this video in the days ahead. We're excited about what you're doing, the momentum that is building, and the impact that's being made in the lives of young people all across our movement. So now give us space and time together, give us a spirit of unity and clarity as we convene together. And it's our prayer ultimately that you would get the glory out of this time. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Well, welcome once again. Glad you're with us. I want to say a couple things are going to happen today. If you haven't been a part of a next gen interest meeting, they're kind of threefold. At one level, we want to connect you with other leaders in the next gen movement. Two, we want there to be some type of like equipping or info time, like a tool or a resource that we offer you as a way of saying, like, here's something that you might be able to find useful in your context. Some people choose to use those things, some people don't. And then the other way, the third area is just really to be able to update you on kind of what's going on and create some space where we can kind of pray together. So that's where we're going. And so one of the cool things that I wanted to do as a way of getting us started is kind of introducing you to our new team. But I also want to make sure you're introduced to each other. Now, there's so many people on the call that we're not going to be able to do this with everybody's voices. But if you'll like put in the chat like who you are, where you are, and maybe where you're serving, that'll give people a chance to kind of hear who's on the call. But some of you are aware that when I came into this role in January, we had a next gen assistant and myself. Kristen was the person that Kristen Carlson, the person that served with Zach for a number of years, and had been working very closely with her for about 5-6 months. And then she transitioned. She let us know that she felt led to pursue the role and really to be at home more with their son. And so in that space, of course, I was initially like, right, like because I love Kristen, was a part of her hire when she came on in 16. And but she served faithfully for about 7 years at the Wesleyan Church with Next Gen. And then I also realized like there were all these prayers that I had been praying about this new season of Next Gen for the Wesleyan Church. And I felt like we needed to have a more expansive team. And so that frustration, which was something that was natural, transitions are healthy, and Kristen led very well and transitioned very well. That initial frustration led to innovation, and so we began to rethink our team and our configuration. So what I want to do today is just share with you who those new team members are, what area they're serving in, just so that you are aware of resources that you have available to you. So our team is on. I think everybody is on. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves and maybe the role that they're in. Some of you probably know these names and these faces, but for others, they may be brand new to you. But team, why don't you introduce yourself? We'll start with Priscilla.
All right, hello everybody. I am Priscilla and I am the Next Gen Administrative Assistant. So basically the role that Kristen had, but this is a part-time position, so it's a little different. And I'm currently in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So with Cody at Ransom Church, and I see Noah also from like Sioux Falls area. So it's good to see you guys' faces. But yeah, in this role, I'll just be here to help assist you guys, get everyone connected and really plugged into the next gen events that are happening. And like all you guys here, I have the same heartbeat, just getting young people to like know Jesus. Like that's our heartbeat. And so I'm really excited just to join this team and get to serve you guys and see the kingdom impact we're about to do. Yeah, through next gen stuff. So that's a little bit about me.
I'll go.
Awesome. Yep, go ahead, Stephanie.
I'm Stephanie Ryan, and I'm the Kids Ministry Catalyst. I think I've connected with some of you via phone, email, all kinds of stuff, and I see some familiar faces. So excited to be a part of this team. I live in Clemson, South Carolina. I've been in ministry for over 14 years at a church in South Carolina, and now am doing kind of a little bit of a different stuff, writing curriculum, doing resourcing, working with some stuff with Follow. But I think my greatest excitement for being in this specific role is just to be able to connect with you guys and network with you. I don't want any kids pastors to feel alone, and so I just want you to know, like, we're here for you. We want to help you. We want to resource you. We want to network with you. Whatever that looks like, you are more than welcome to call and reach out to me anytime. So excited to be a part of it.
Thank you, Stephanie. Clay.
Hey, I'm Clay. I live in Greenville, South Carolina, and I work at Green Multicultural Church with Pastor Emily Miller, and so I'm a resident pastor there doing spiritual formation. And then I also work with Immigrant Connection, which is a nonprofit providing legal services to immigrants as a videographer. And in this role, I am digital discipleship resource catalyst, which is a mouthful. Basically, I had this passion for video, right? I had this passion for creativity, but also discipleship. And so, how do those worlds actually go together? Instead of just promotion, or how do we get more followers? Those things are important, but how do we actually provide resources for next gen that are creative, that are discipleship minded, that you open and you actually want to use, hopefully. Like, these are the sort of things that are on my heart, and how can we actually aid our students and young adults and kids through video and creativity. So my role a lot will be working right now with Follow in preparation for that, but then in the future to come with Calling especially. So I'm really excited to be part of this team.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Clay. So I don't think Ian is with us just yet, but Ian Nacy has agreed to come on board with us as our one of two young adult catalysts. One of the things that I found very early, whenever I was just sitting with folks, many of you who are on this call, listening and learning about just the journey that you've been on and the trajectory of our movement, two echoes came very, very clear, and that was we definitely must continue the things that we're doing with our students, our middle school and high school students, and we will do just that. But that there was kind of a piece of some of the work that needed to be done with our kids, and some of the work that needed to be done with our young adults. And so Ian Nacy has agreed to step in as our young adult catalyst. He's based out of Colorado, right outside of Denver at Generations Church. And we created that role in two spaces. One of them is kind of more of a shepherding role for young adult leaders, a person that connects them with our colleges and universities, helps them with residencies and internships. And then the other role is someone who is immersed in young adult ministry, who is a young adult themselves, who could provide leadership and some direction in that regards. And so we've hired Ian as that first person, and we're looking to hire that second person pretty soon. And so you'll hear more about that. So we'll have another staff member that'll join us hopefully within the next 30 or 45 days. So that's our team. And as Priscilla mentioned earlier, all of those roles are part-time, and we work together to serve you. And so we're really here to connect, to call people to pray, to resource you, to create cohorts and opportunities for growth. And so that's really our job in serving you and serving this denomination. So we're available to you. Feel free to reach out to us via email or other ways that you know how to get a hold of us. The other thing that's important for you to know, Stephanie is also the director of registration for Follow. So usually when you're asking a question through the Follow website, it's going to Stephanie because she is managing that bear. Registration is a bear, but that she's a point person for that. And then, as Clay mentioned, his other role is to help us with our calling collective and our calling retreat that will take place later in October, and we'll share more about that in just a moment. But I just wanted to make sure you knew who these folks were. I wanted to introduce them to you here. We'll have a little bit more extensive ways of introducing them to you later, but wanted you to know the resource that is available to you. And I see that many of you have jumped on. We're introducing ourselves on the chat. So if you haven't chimed in to say who you are, where you are, and what context you're serving in, please let us know in the chat, and that'll keep everybody abreast of who you are and where you are. As I've mentioned before, we typically try to have some type of time. Well, before I go there, any questions about our new team? Any questions or uh, you know additional info that might be needed that you would like to ask related to our team?
Yes, ma'am. Good. How are you?
Oh, any questions or? All right, very good. Well, what I want to do is kind of transition us and introduce our premier sponsor for Follow. We are excited this year that we're doing things a little bit differently, and we'll talk more extensively about Follow in a moment. I think a lot of you are probably on to hear more about that. But we have initiated relationships with a lot of potential sponsors and partners. And there is a personal connection that we had with Gloo, with Tim, who's joined us through Kristen. And early on in the process, we began to talk to Gloo about the possibility of being one of our sponsors, and they have agreed to become our premier sponsor. And so we're excited about that. Tim actually has some roots in the Wesleyan Church and some connection to our movement. And so I'm going to let him introduce himself and share a little bit about like what Gloo is. Like some people, maybe you're fully aware of what Gloo is and what it does. I think most people are aware of its connection to He Gets Us. It's a part of the relationship that Gloo has as an organization to He Gets Us. But I want him to just kind of share a little bit. There's a really cool aspect of what Gloo offers that I've already tapped into with my local church, and hopefully you'd be willing to do the same as well. So Tim, why don't you introduce yourself and share with folks a little bit about Gloo?
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's so cool to be on the call. So like this is my tribe in a lot of ways. I was a youth pastor in Indianapolis, Indiana, just north of Indianapolis for 17 years. So youth ministry has always been my heart and passion. And yeah, now, and I attend a Wesleyan church. I'm up here in Michigan, part of the Great Lakes region, friends with them. I attend Journey Church in Caledonia, just south of Grand Rapids. So it's just like a triple blessing to be involved and to be involved with you guys and with Follow. And I know, like, having been a youth pastor, before you think this is a sales pitch and start checking your email, I just want you to know that I'm in gives, not sales. Everything that Gloo has for youth ministry is 100% free and provided for you by donors. So, you know, stop watching a Twitch stream or whatever. And there's tons of cool stuff. So Gloo is a technology platform. At our heartbeat, we're a connector. We are like a switchboard. We want to connect champions, people who champion the life of others, to resources, ministries to resources, places that are providing resources to ministries. And the best way to think about Gloo is to know that our founder, Scott Beck, is a successful businessman. He launched the first 1,000 blockbusters. He brought Boston Chicken to become Boston Market and brought that to scale. So he's got a real passion for scale. And we talk about wanting to unleash the collective might of the church. So through that vision and passion, we're just connected and we're building connections. and partnering with people and sort of making these exchanges. If you're at the Willow Leadership Summit, the CEO of Intel is the chairman of the board at Gloo. So we're continuing to grow and just excited about how we're connecting. And one of those is, for instance, we first were really known for He Gets Us. We're not the same organization, but we're like super tightly partnered. We represent them in market. If you've ever seen He Gets Us at a conference or a stadium event, or basically wherever you see them out in the world live, that's probably Gloo representing them. And so one of the cool things for youth ministry that I love is that on the platform with a free account, you get access to all the He Gets Us resources. So videos, discussion guides, teaching guides. Every church, you can order 2 boxes of free shirts. So like, I know merch like is huge. You could get 50 shirts for free shipped to your church from He Gets Us. And what's cool is you can do whatever you want with it. So my brother-in-law's a worship pastor, and they did a big long series on He Gets Us. They used, the slide backgrounds, the graphics, the videos, but all their own content. So that's available. We're partnering with The Chosen. And I'm really excited. We're starting to move into a lot of younger areas, and with young adult ministries and stuff for teens. We're working with a lot of Christian concerts, The Send, obviously Follow, a lot of traveling bands and concerts. Gloo is just getting more and more involved in reaching the next generation. And then lastly, probably the biggest ad, the thing that we want to give you that donors have given and just want to equip you with, is free unlimited texting, right? So you might be familiar with Clearstream or Text in Church. Well, the Gloo platform provides that same service, free unlimited texting, unlimited keywords, connection to your church database, and we don't charge anything. Donors have paid for it. And I remember, when I was in youth ministry in Indiana, I was at a church, this is like 5 years ago. At one point, the budget was over $10 million. And the youth ministry wasn't allowed to use the texting. Like, this was a church that could afford to allow me to text. So I know your pain. And so what's cool is you could have a separate youth ministry account, or if your church has the account, you're not asking for money to be able to text. And it's a full featured app. So like you can have multiple users. You could have, like I wish I had it when I was in youth ministry. You could set it up so every small group has their own texting group, and you could give those small group leaders access to log in and only text their group, but then it's all tracked in the app, and you can see what's being communicated. You can, connect through that and do all the cool techie stuff that texting does with auto responses. And that's all given to you by donors who care with a free Gloo account. So what we want to do, even in the time leading up to that, is maybe do some webinars, videos on it's just some cool things you can do with it. Instead of, I used to worry about, once I had a texting platform, I was an executive pastor, about limiting the number of texts because we were paying per text, to what could you do if you had unlimited uses for messaging? How could you use that in your ministry to share the love of Jesus? So that's a couple of things. We're super excited. If you want to test it out, I'll drop a link so you can sign up for a Gloo account. If not, we're going to want to get everybody on, but we're going to be there. We're excited to meet with you, to grow with you, to serve you, and just available for whatever you need.
Thank you,
I think that's good.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know about you, but like, having been in the student ministry world, budgets are tight. Like, I literally was just talking to my lead pastor today about our budget. It was like, you never confirmed whether my proposal was approved. Anybody had those conversations, and how much of it was approved? And so I'm trying to prepare for Follow, and I just need to know what I'm working with. And so being able to use a service like this, where it normally does cost your church money through Text in Church, or maybe you're doing it through Subsplash or whatever it may be, that this may be a great way of kind of saving you some money, but also keeping communication lines clear and open. So anybody have any questions for Tim related to Gloo, any of the services that they provide? I'd love to create some space for that.
While you think, can I take a minute to just show you what it looks like?
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I allowed to share my screen here?
Did it let you? Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So, we have a mobile app. that you can download for the messaging. You can connect mobile from a laptop, and then this is what it looks like. So when you're on, here's a demo account. Discover is where all the resources are. Engage is our text messaging. Reach is really cool. This is probably for the whole church, and right now we're hoping to use this with youth. This is anybody who responds to an online campaign like He Gets Us, any campaign we're partnered with, Churches Care. They fill out a form and they say, I'd like to talk to somebody at a church. I could use help in some way. And we connect them to a church within 20 miles. And we're going to hit 250,000 what we call digital explorers, people who responded to an online campaign through search engine optimization or an ad through one of our partner ministries and would like to connect to a church. And I'm excited. We're finalizing, we're moving into younger spaces like digital, so like Twitch, Christian streamers who use that platform on Twitch to reach non-Christians. We're going to be partnering with some of them that they can, if someone has an interest, can connect to a digital church or a physical church in their area. There's some cool stuff coming with that. But this is what the resource page looks like. So if you wanted to, use He Gets Us resources, they're all in here for you. The videos are available for download. A lot of them, you can get the actual video file, so you don't have to link out to YouTube. Sermon resources, prayer prompts that go along with the texting, discussion guides. If you have small groups or you're doing the Chosen, we have Church Chosen resources all available for you out on Gloo. If you're a nerd, we're doing lots of stuff with AI and bringing sort of the church ecosystem together around AI. And it's awesome. Oh, Matthew using the Reach. I get a response from Reach almost every day. The stories are incredible of how God used that Reach component. And we're super, super excited. Again, right now, if you have responsibility for adults, you should check that out. We're hoping to be able to route teenagers at some point. There's some legal issues with that. Engage. This is what the chat platform looks like. So, and again, these are all samples. While you're using this, you're on the app, but these are actual texts. People are getting on their phone, like a 95% return rate, right? Nobody reads email, but your chat gets a huge return rate. And so you can create single broadcasts. You can plan a series and say, text every Wednesday morning, send a text out. You can pre-fill those out. Anytime anyone subscribes, gets added to the group, they get those. Or you can do something like a series that says, if someone sends in this keyword for the next 3 days, send a text every morning. So that could be somebody's new student to youth group, and they sign up with I'm new. You could, the first day, have it automatically send, hey, man, we're so glad you were there. Thank you for visiting. We'd love to connect sometime. And then you can have a 1 sent 2 days later, another 1 sent 2 days later automatically. And again, unlimited keywords. So however you want to set it up for information, you can set up keywords so parents can text in, all that kind of stuff. We connect with most common databases. So your churches probably aren't using Salesforce, HubSpot, but Planning Center, CCB, Rock, MailChimp, and you can also upload. You can create QR codes for it. It's really cool. We have a built-in prayer module. And so without having to use a hashtag, right? It does natural language processing. So if someone just texts in and says, like, this is a simple one, please pray for me, my sanity with three kids and a dog. It sees that it's a prayer, it reads that, and it dumps it in your prayer inbox. What's cool is you can give special permissions to just the prayer inbox, right? So this is a way that you could engage students and have a student prayer team that receives those prayers. And you don't have to worry about them logging in and texting the whole youth ministry and arranging for them to TP your house or whatever. They only would have access to reply to the prayer inbox. And so that's a way you could have students praying for other students 24 hours. So there's lots of permissions on people who can use this. And what's cool too is in here, once someone's prayed for, you can mark it as prayed for. You can assign it to a person. And then anyone that the system is engaging with, all of the texts are tracked. So you don't have to worry about, in today's world with security and contact with minors, if your leaders are using this, all of the messages are tracked and you can text on people's behalf. So it's a full feature texting app, totally free. Some churches get real organized. They have one phone number for the church and the youth ministry uses that same number, and they just really set up their keywords. Other churches, they set up 2 accounts for the church, one for youth ministry, so that all that information is in its own account, and then one kind of for all church communication. And you can give people access to both. So, Zach, so Spaces is like an old, I guess in years gone by, it was similar to like a custom Discord type app that Gloo had been pushing out, but it's not being developed much. It may again one of these days, but right now they're not being worked on Spaces.
Excellent.
So yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for the question. So I just wanted you all to know about Gloo. Some of you probably were already familiar with them and He Gets Us, but some may not have been. And so it's just a resource that you can use in your local church, that you can use maybe even through your camps that you're doing. If there's not an account for communication with your teams and with your leaders, that might be something you can use to keep track of things and to push out communication. So just a great resource. And Gloo is going to, as I said, they're going to be our premier sponsor for Follow. They also will have a couple webinars that kind of feature some of the things that they offer between now and in December. But just wanted you to be familiar with them. And it's cool that we have one of our own tribe who is helping to spearhead some of the things at Gloo. So any final questions for Gloo before we kind of transition to our Follow communications? Awesome. Thank you, Tim. And stick around as long as you can. I know he's got to jump off. And that's one of the reasons why we put him up a little bit earlier. He has to jump off to attend to something else shortly. But I see so many kids ministry leaders on. Welcome. Thank you for jumping on. Stephanie has been doing a great job communicating with our kids ministry leaders. And so I'm so glad that you're with us. As Ian transitions into his role, we'll hope to see more young adult leaders and our college reps as well. I see some college reps on from IWU and Kingswood and SWU as well. So good to have you guys on as well. So wanted to transition to talk a little bit about Follow. I'm excited to say we've refreshed our website. It has a new look. If you haven't been had a chance to jump on for the last couple weeks, I would encourage you to do so. It is far more engaging now. Earlier on, we tried to make it just kind of basic information to not overload people. And we also didn't want to compete with camps during that season. And so now that camp season is over, we're able to kind of transition into the fall. We've given a fresh look to our website. On there, you'll find videos and promo materials that can be downloaded directly from the website. I know some of you have asked for those materials. We're still adding newer materials to the website that you can download, but now it's kind of a one-stop shop. You can register there, you can get resources there, you can ask questions there. We have a huge kind of FAQ list of commonly asked questions that we explore and try to answer those questions for you. We're also kind of in the throes of fundraising right now, because how many of you know it takes a lot to pull off a Follow event? And so we're raising support through our partnerships and sponsors. But something that's a little bit different this year, and some of you got wind of this as I've shared this at camps, is we're also fundraising in 2 spaces. So we're asking individuals to consider sponsoring what we call Send a Student to Follow. And so we're getting responses from people who are investing in that. And what that means is as we continue to get those funds coming in, we're going to allocate those to churches who've expressed an interest or a need to get support through registrations. And then the second way that we're making that ask is we're calling them transportation grants, because one of the things I heard from you all very, very early is that buses cost a whole lot more now than they did in 2019. And so for that reason, we also are raising support, and there are individuals and organizations that are giving to help with transportation. So those are two ways that if you feel the need and you're in a position where you want to make that request, just submit a proposal. And I'm asking that the proposal just basically have 2 to 3 things, right? So first, who you are, where you are, what your ask is, and then give us 3 different scenarios, right? The big ask, the medium ask, and the smallest ask. Does that make sense? So if you're asking for you're swinging for the fences and what you're asking, what would that look like? What's your medium ask, and then what's your smallest ask? And that helps us as we bring that to our team to decide, okay, based on what the resources are that we currently have, what could we say to this DYP or this youth pastor or this local church leader about how we can support their efforts? But it's important to have those 3. Don't just swing for the fence. Give us some options. And in that, we need to know, what are you doing? Like, are you fundraising for this? Are you have you made an ask to your district? That helps us to know, because sometimes what we then do, will take that ask and take it to a potential donor and say, here's a church in Nova Scotia who is trying to get to follow. Here's what they're asking. What would you be willing to do? Right. And most donors respond better when they feel like they have options, if that makes sense. So that's the reason for the ask. And if you want to submit a proposal, you feel free to do that. Does that make sense? Awesome. Any questions about that? Also, just to let you know, you can see on the website, just go to followconference.org. We have our speakers and their info up. We have our bands, our artists, and their info up. The space that hasn't been filled in just yet, that should be over the next couple of months, is what our breakouts will be and who some of those speakers and topics. So look for that to be one of the next things that gets released. A full kind of skeleton schedule is also on the website. That'll get filled in a little bit with more details. Some people have asked, well, where is the info about the leader track and where's the info about the young adult track? All of that is being formulated now. There are things that are going to be happening simultaneously with the Follow Conference. So for example, some of you probably already know your DSs are coming. There's going to be a DS roundtable. We're making sure that all of the people who are coming are attending the main sessions, but everything else is open. Everything else is fair game. And so our young adult track will also be some things happening at night, some things happening in the morning. And the same will be true with our leader track. There will be some receptions and opportunities for connection. So you'll hear more about that as Ian and his team begins to work through some of the details for the young adult track. But I'll stop there and see if there are any questions, or Stephanie, if you have anything you would share. I thought I saw Charlie on as well. Yeah, Charlie's here. Any questions that you may have about Follow, or anything Stephanie or Charlie would want to share about Follow as a part of the executive team?
Well, I'll share really quick, Santee. I'm actually in Nice, France, in my grandson's bedroom. So I had to sit here on the floor with his toys. We're here for a visit. So, and we're sitting right on the Mediterranean, so it's not a bad day. It's about 6 hours ahead of y'all, but the lineup is amazing. We worked really, really hard for months, chasing so many people and just praying fervently through speakers and artists. And as most of you know, it has been a new day booking large events with artists and speakers. And what an amazing godly group of people that God has brought our way. So just very cool to see it come together, but very excited about that. So thanks, Santis.
Thank you, Charlie. You're a gem, man. You're a gem. Anything you would add, Stephanie, to just in terms of registration?
Yes, I would love to. So you may have seen it on the website, but for any question that you have, I don't care what question it is, and if you don't know the answer to that, you can email me at follow@wesleyan.org, and I'd be more than happy to help you with that. If I don't know the answer, I know where I can find answers. So just send me what questions you have. Also, just as a reminder, early bird rates are done September 30th. So if you want to get in on that, the deadline is September 30th for that. But here to help you guys if you need anything on registration.
Yeah, and it's been so cool to hear. Like I literally got a text this morning from a camp director that said, "We got 4 buses. We're bringing 220." Like praise the Lord. I was dealing with a DYP. Their district brought the most people the last time, and they are close to where they were the last time. And so the momentum is building. Just a point of emphasis. I want you to know that when we started dreaming and praying about this, like one of the things that became more and more clear to me was that we needed to get back to our roots with the youth convention. And at the core of when it started, its focus has always been on students, but there's also been in its inception a focus on the leaders who love them and the families that pour into them. And so you'll notice that our focus is still on students, but we want this to be something that any leader can come to, right? So if you're in the kids ministry world, this may be a great conference to come to because now you don't have to take care of kids while you're there. You can just enjoy, and we will have a leadership track that pours into you. So we are programmed for anyone over that's 6th grade and up. But here's the other reality. A lot of people are going to bring their kids, right? A lot of people are going to bring their kids that are elementary and younger, and it's a safe space for them too. But our programming is designed for 6th grade and up, right? So our focus is primarily middle school and high school, but we sure another echo that I heard as I was listening to people is some students would come to me and say, I was only able to go to 1 or 2 youth conventions because they've been every 4 years. And like I'm at a place now where I value it and I would love to be able to come back. And we're able to say, you know what? We have a track for 18 to 30. You're welcome to be a part of that track, or you're welcome to serve and pour into students like others poured into you. So we're hoping to have about 6,000 people total is our goal. About 4,000 of those will be middle school and high school students, and about 1,000 will be young adults and college students, and about 1,000 will be leaders, like adult leaders. They may be, people in the next gen world, lead pastors, DSs, university reps. That other 1,000 will be in that category. So 6,000 is the goal. We also are really pushing this locally in Cincinnati to try to get as many of the folks who are in kind of a 50-mile radius who can get there within an hour to 2 hours. We're hoping to get as many of them there as possible. And we do have day passes. So if there are people who don't really need hotels, but they live locally and they can drive in and out, we will have a day pass for people who live close by. And so just know that those things are available to you as well. But once again, like the fact sheet gives you a lot of details of the way we're responding to questions as people begin to ask those. One of the common questions is how do we handle room assignments and what is our ratio? Our ratio has typically been about 6 to 1 at these kind of conferences, but we leave that to the discretion of the youth group because your people. Sometimes you need a 1 to 1. Can I get an amen? With some students, like you don't need to let them out of your sight. And then there are other students that you think have a little bit more leadership capability and you can stretch things a little bit more. We're also saying to folks, we understand the times and it's not as easy today to put 4 students in a room sharing a bed as it was 20 years ago when I first started in youth ministry. But there are ways we can accommodate that. There are tools we can give people of how to communicate that with parents and with students. Sometimes putting siblings in the same room is helpful. Sometimes when a parent is coming and they're a leader, putting them in the room with their kids is helpful. So all of those things are things that we definitely understand. But in order to pull this off in a city downtown, we have to access hotels just in terms of the making it easier for you to get to the convention center and back. Some churches are choosing to get an Airbnb so that they can control the room assignments a little bit better. And we don't oppose that at all if that works better for your local church. But there are other ideas that we have of how you can accommodate that. We want to make sure people know that whatever you sign up for, like if you have quad occupancy, that's how many people need to be in that room, right? And we want to have the honor system. Can I get an amen? You know, you can have a quad occupancy, but then we show up and there's 12 people sleeping. Like, we're not trying to do that. Because there are certain things, markers we need to hit with the city and with our hotels. So we just ask that you honor that with us. But we don't have a problem with people saying, okay, we got a student who's going to bring an air mattress or a sleeping bag, and they don't want to sleep in the same bed with someone, but they're going to sleep on the floor. Those kinds of things, that's totally fine. I mean, it's a lot of students choose to do that anyway. So any questions from those kinds of things related to follow that we can answer or respond to?
Yeah, I had a quick question. I understand we can like sign up gradually, right? So like if I already have a quad ready to go and they're paid and we want to register them, and then I can add more to our church group, correct?
Correct.
So
Correct.
then so then if you add more later, are they all still staying in the same general area, or is it sort of like, well, whatever's available when I sign up our last quad, they might be in a totally separate area from everyone else?
Yeah, great question. We say to you, sign them up as soon as you can and as many as you can.
Yeah,
And the earlier the better, because we can make those adjustments now, right? Like, we're at a place now where you have your run of whatever hotel you want, because not all the hotels provide breakfast. So
hmm,
most people are going to probably want to go after the hotels that provide breakfast. And some hotels are larger than others. And so we'll be able to accommodate larger groups in the larger hotels. But the thing to remember is the early bird rates, or the rates, change based
right.
on who you've paid for. So,
Hmm.
so if you have everybody in the system, but you haven't paid for them, if it goes past September 30th, you're now in the regular rate. So we say to folks, pay for as many as you can as soon as you can, because that locks in your hotel room and that locks in your rate. The longer you wait, the less options you have and the higher the price will be. And so
Right.
we're very we want to steward well your resources, and we also want to be able to communicate to the city clearly what they can expect. So yeah, like you can register as many people as you can. You can put them in the system without paying.
Oh,
um,
okay.
yeah, you can put them in the system without paying, but we encourage you,
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
earlier the better, to get all of that in. But so for
Gotcha.
example, we're hoping to bring about anywhere from 50 to 60 of our students and leaders. And so we're starting to do some of that internally in our church. So they're paying through our system, and then we're going to register everybody at the same time online with the Follow website. So a lot of churches are doing that when it's a larger group, but smaller groups can manage that a little bit easier.
Can I add one thing
Okay.
to the CNTs?
Yeah.
You can also put in placeholder names. So like if you want to reserve 20 spots, Emily, you could put your name in all of those spots and then go back later as you get those kids' names, if that's helpful for you.
Okay, perfect. I was thinking from one of our other meetings, and I may have just misheard it. I was thinking that we had to pay once we signed them up. So knowing that I can just like put them in and have their rooms like sort of arranged ahead of time is helpful.
You can come back and change that as often as you need to
Okay.
until the cutoff for registration.
Okay, great. Thanks, Steph.
Yeah. And just remember though, like, the challenge is, say for instance, start out with 15 people and we have 20 slots left in a particular hotel. And then all of a sudden, now you want to add 10 more, right? Like that's when it gets challenging, where we may have to say, okay, we may have to move you to another hotel where we have more room. Or you may have to decide, okay, we'll put our young adults in the other hotel with that 10 and keep our students in this hotel. So those are the kind of things we'll run into as registration increases. Because most people, like, we would hope everybody would register way ahead of time. But I know youth ministry and I know what's going on in my own youth group. And we will be right at September 15th to 30th is somewhere around the time when everybody's going to get the urgency to
Mhm.
so it's when it happens, it's going to happen quickly.
Yeah.
And but so I'd say to you get as many in as you can as early as you can. But
Okay.
we recognize the challenge. We
Yeah.
get it.
That's cool. Thanks.
Yep.
I got a question, Santis.
Yep.
So if we go ahead and say I'm gonna block 24 spots and plan to fill those, we get to a point where we need to release those spots back. Is there a deadline we have to do that by?
There's no deadline to when you need to release them, but if you know that you don't have that number and you've paid for them already, what we say to folks is the first thing we want you to do is try to sub, like try to get someone else in that space, even if it's maybe even with another church locally. Like fill those slots first because it's a lot harder it's not impossible for us to refund you. It's just a lot harder when we start booking rooms. And so, yes, like you can always release them and let us know when, you're not bringing as many as before. But our first ask is try to fill those with your people or local people or people from your district. And then the last resort would be a refund.
Got it. And then if we do, so say I booked those 24 slots, I got transportation set up, we're coming. If we want to get all the hotels booked so that we're in the same hotel, it's got to be paid for in order to reserve that, correct?
Correct.
So we do want to go ahead and pay for them, fill them. If we can't, try to connect with people in the district.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah. Great question. I thought I heard another voice come up.
I don't know who the other one was, but I did have a question remembered from last time. Is it on the Follow website what parking is at the hotels or the local garages? Or do we just got to dig a little bit?
We have a site visit scheduled for the end of this month. So we'll be there August 31st and September 1st. And so we'll get that info because it has changed. One of the hotels no longer exists. It was torn down. It's a green space now. And we're about to consider adding an additional hotel. And so we'll get the numbers to you for charter bus parking and for personal parking, and we'll add that to the website.
One question I got was, are there like any kind of shuttles for the convention? I know like some of the hotels are over the river, and I didn't know what the shuttle situation was.
Yeah, we have an agreement with the city that either the city will provide shuttles back and forth from the hotel to the convention center, or the hotel will provide shuttles. So if you're at a location that's a little farther away, yes, there will be shuttles available to you at no cost. And we'll have I think in the past we've had like a schedule of when the shuttles will leave, and that will be available to you. Some of like we'll have an app for Follow, and all of this information will be on the app as well. So the same things that are on the website will be on the app, and there'll be a little bit more detail, a little bit more engagement with signing up for breakouts and signing up for or being aware of shuttles and things of that nature. So the app hopefully will be ready sometime in November, so you can get familiar with it about a month out. Great question. I heard a female's voice. Was there someone asking a question that we missed?
It was me, but I'm going to email Stephanie because it was like very specific. So,
okay. Well, I mean, if it's something, sometimes asking the question might cover something somebody else is thinking about. So feel free to ask it because there's no one else asking right now.
Okay. So I managed a lot of the registration for our group in 2019. And we had a smaller group, but it started off where they all fit evenly in quads. And then at the last minute, we had someone add and we had to shuffle things. And I know there was a lot of like chaos in some of the money side of that. And so I just didn't know if like with this system of being able to go in and change it to the last minute, to be able to avoid like having to get a refund when you're really paying more money, but it was like allocated differently. I know that was like the biggest struggle we had with adding people late. Was it just in order to avoid like a 2-person room, we had to go to like multiple threes or something, like multiple triples. So I didn't know how that worked within the system.
It's a great question. Yeah, we will accommodate those as needed, and we'll probably have a code. Like we just kind of initiated some codes for different groups, and so there may be a code that we provide for a situation like that where you may not have to pay for the whole double room or single room or something like that. So, and in those cases, we may allow a fifth person in the room. So we'll on a case by case basis, we'll make decisions on that. But yes, we will accommodate those kinds of situations because we totally understand, right? Like everything doesn't operate in numbers of 4 or 2. Sometimes you'll have that odd number and you really want that person to be there or that leader that really wants to come. So also know that we are accommodating drivers. There's a driver rate. So people who are coming who are not participating in the conference, but they're like either they're driving the bus and need a hotel, or they're, you know, that who I hope to be when I'm 80, that 80-year-old driver that just wants to get people to follow, but may not be able to traverse getting back and forth from the convention center. And so I just want to get them there. So you may have a leader like that. So we do have a code and a track for that as well. Someone just asked about bilingual stuff. We've communicated pretty extensively with our Hispanic churches and Hispanic leaders, and they have assured us that there is no need to do bilingual. And it's kind of what we anticipated anyway. Most of our students who are in Hispanic churches and in kids ministry either speak English and don't need translation. And so that's what we're doing for this scenario as well. So great question though.
Yeah, I asked that more for parents. The kids go in there be fine, but getting them to sign up, I've dealt with enough parents that if the form isn't in Spanish, the kid ain't going.
Yeah, if there's a specific need for translation for a particular resource, like promotion or whatever, yeah, we can accommodate that. Yeah, just let us know. We'll make sure we have the our promotion materials available in Spanish. You know, we'll work on that for you. Great question. Would you also say, Matthew, that it would be helpful for there to be subtitles for our videos as well in Spanish? Or do you think just the printed materials or graphics?
I would think it'd be helpful. I'm just going off our situation. I only have one teen that we might be able to go that his family's Hispanic, and anything that's forms to get their kids to do, it needs to be in Spanish. It's always struck me as odd because like they speak full English to us all the time, but if it's a form, that it needs to be in Spanish.
Got it. Got it. Very helpful. Thank you. Great question. Any other questions about Follow before we give you some final details?
This might just be me, Santis, but our church hasn't brought a group since I was a student. So how do you typically handle pricing? Do you guys normally try to wrap in food and transportation costs when you're registering kids at your churches, or you guys have them just bring their own money for food and eat the cost of transportation? I just don't know what other churches typically have done. Maybe you can just tell me that. I don't want to take up all the time, but trying to get a handle on how to set up registration on the back end.
Yeah, great question. And others can chime into this too. And just a FYI, we may go over an hour accommodate some of the questions, I just want to let you know, I'm gonna say about 1:15. But so what we're doing at our church is, of course, there we have everybody registered through our app. They pay the church through that app. And so we keep most of that information there before we move it to the Follow website for registration. And so we separate out the registration cost, which is kind of that hard cost that is coming through the website. And then we communicate to them what additional meals will need to be covered and how much those probably will be, and then what our transportation will be. So for example, in our district is providing charter buses for us, and then we pay like $25 per seat on a charter bus. So we then will give the parent or the student, okay, the 250 is if you're going to be in a quad room, that's kind of the lowest price. And then you have to pay $25 for your seat on the bus to get to and from the conference. And then here are the amounts for the other meals that'll take place while you're traveling and that'll take place while you're there. The thing to remember is we won't cover any dinners while you're there. We will cover lunches. So there are 2 lunches that will be provided. And then some hotels have breakfast. So in an ideal world, you get to a hotel that has breakfast. So you're really only paying for your meals traveling and your 2 dinners, or your 3 dinners, because your first night, your second night, your third night. And so the hotel is paid for 3 nights. You're paid for 2 meals, and hopefully you get to a hotel that has breakfast, and that limits what you're having to come out of the pocket. So generally, we're saying to our people, we just had a meeting with our students and parents last week. We're saying to them, you're going to probably need about $75 for food. And if we don't get into a hotel that has breakfast, then you'll have to pay a little bit more. And then we have $25 for the seat on the bus. So we're saying to folks, $350 is what you're probably going to have to come out of pocket for the conference. Any other way that folks are handling that in your district that might be helpful to Zach? So I know there are different ways people are doing it.
Yeah, we just kind of tell them what to expect to pay for meals, how many meals to cover. Our church covers one dinner out as just like a gift to the teens, and like we all go out together. And then I think Elizabeth said this and others, if your hotel doesn't have breakfast, just go to Sam's and get a bunch of Pop-Tarts and a bag of apples. Like ours wouldn't get up super early to go get breakfast, even if it was there. So that's what we did. And the church bought that for them as well. But yeah, then we just told parents, here's how many dinners. I think Matthew said 15. I think that's fair. Everything in downtown Cincinnati, they're going to be hard pressed to find a full dinner for cheaper than that, I think. And then they just brought their own money. Some of the teens were like, will you hold it for me? Because I lose stuff. And I did that, but yeah, they just brought it themselves.
And then the other, okay.
I did it last time that all the food money, we had it in cash, in envelope, and like I had separate envelopes for all of them. That way they didn't accidentally go to like Troy's booth and buy like $300 worth of sweaters, because they all love the Hustle Eat Pray gear and could eat the whole way. So as much as they might say they're responsible, you tend to have to go that extra mile.
Excellent point.
I've always just ballparked $500, and that kind of gets them enough for anything. And it's I mean, that's kind of just the ballpark that I've used in the past.
Yeah, and some churches, like we're also doing fundraising. And so that fundraising, what we do is we say, if you participate in a fundraiser, whatever we clear gets equally distributed to each student. And so sometimes that can go towards their registration if we do it earlier enough. And then sometimes we do that as kind of petty cash for their meals after the fact. So that's been helpful for us and for some parents. to know that they can fundraise. And we typically do 2, sometimes 3 fundraisers, like one every other month between now and the end of the year. And so our young adults, for example, they're killing it. Like they just raised close to $1,000. And they're going to distribute that to the young adults who are going. So great question. Any other questions? Awesome. So just to close out, a couple things just want you to be aware of. We still have some Frisbees as swag that are left over from camp. And so if you are a church that, you're trying to push it and, it'd be helpful to have a little bit of swag to throw out, pass out. Don't knock nobody out with it. We do have a few more Frisbees left over and a few more t-shirts. So just let us know if you're a church that like hard printed materials is more helpful than digital materials. We still have quite a few of those smaller postcards with the $2.49 rate, and we're willing to mail those out to you as well. So swag and printed materials, just email me or text me and let me know how many you need and what you need, and we'll try to get it to you. The other thing I wanted you to be aware of, I mentioned that our prayer team met on Monday. We do have a prayer team, a next gen prayer team that has started. And you'll be hearing from Jim Lowe and Amy, who I think was on here earlier. She might not be on here anymore. Oh, yeah, she's still here. Amy is partnered with Jim Lowe to lead our prayer team for Next Gen. And so you'll be hearing from them just about what that looks like, kind of a weekly prayer time, a monthly prayer time, an extended prayer and fasting prayer time before, follow. We'll have some prayer walks that we'll do prior to the conference, and then we'll have prayer walks during the conference. And so we'd love to have you jump in as a part of the prayer team, or if there are prayer requests that you have, we want to be supporting you with prayer. We know like none of this is going to happen without a concerted, intentional effort of prayer. So anything you would add to that, Amy, as we talk about the prayer team?
I'm going to put my email in the chat. And so if any of you are interested in kind of just really being intentionally looped into more of the prayer details, then please shoot me an email. Or if there's specific ways our prayer team can be lifting you and your teams up, we would love to be praying specifically over you.
Thank you. Also, as a point of information, we are having a calling retreat. This is designed for leaders who specifically are working as a district leader. That can be DYPs, DKPs. That can be a university leader who's kind of organizing around calling. It can be a camp director. And so we're having a calling retreat in October. It's October the 12th and 13th. It's like a noon on the Thursday through 4 p.m. on Friday. It's going to be in North Carolina at Victory Mountain Camp. And so if you're interested in coming to that retreat and providing some insight as to what you're doing at your district level, camp level, university level, we'd love to have you. What we hope will be produced from this retreat is, one, that our people will get some rest and connect, number one. Number two, we hope to have something that we can offer, an online platform that helps you to be a place that you can send people to get into the flow of what we're doing as a denomination around calling. Clay is part of the leadership team of helping us to put together some of that for our calling retreat and some of the digital resources that will come from that. So you'll be hearing from us in ahead of time. But we're only asking, if you're a district leader or you're a university leader, we're only asking you to cover your food. And so about $50, but we'll help for those that need it with transportation, and we'll help with accommodation for you to get there. So we just want, it's not for everybody, but it's really for a district leader who is immersed in trying to figure out how to develop something around calling, university leaders, et cetera. We'd love to have you there. So if you want more information, feel free to reach out to me or Clay about that. Other two things and then we'll be done. Some of you have asked about fuel. We're still planning to have fuel, but we're not planning to have it for 2023. Our dates that we've set are for April 26th and 27th of 2024. It will be in the Indy area, so it'll be around headquarters. It may not be at headquarters, but it will be around headquarters depending on our numbers. But April 26th, 27th of 2024 is fuel, and fuel is for all next gen leaders. So whether you're kids, youth, or young adults, it will be designed for all leaders, not students, but leaders of. And if they're student leaders, we'd love for you to bring them too, right? But it's really designed for our leaders. And then the last thing I'll say, some of you will be excited to hear this. We got into an interesting conversation about the next follow. And one of our goals is to be able to provide you prior to follow, or at least at follow, when the next follow will be and where it will be. Now, the good news is we know when. We have decided that it'll be in 2026. So it won't be 4 years from now. It'll be 3 years from now that we'll have our next follow. We're now negotiating and walking through the decision of where, but it will be in 2026, the December 28th through 30th dates. So just wanted you to be aware of that. Every 3 years now will be our rhythm instead of 4. And then next year, we won't have anything follow related. It's kind of like that let the ground rest year from conference standpoint. But in 2025, we will have at least 2, maybe 3 to 4 regional follows. So a smaller version. And our desire is to go to those areas where we are not getting a lot of people to follow. So it's a lot harder to come to follow if you're out west. It's a lot harder to come to follow if you're in Canada. So we're going to try to do some regional expressions of follow in some of those areas where we haven't got a ton of folks. And then we're going to also try to do it in a 1 or 2 areas where we are getting a lot of folks to kind of continue to drum up the momentum for 2026. So just want you to be aware of that. And if you feel like we should come to your city or to your district for one of those regions, and you can put together a proposal to say why, I'd love to hear from you. But the goal is to let 2025 rest outside of 2024 rest outside of fuel, but 2025 will be when we'll have at least 2, maybe 3, or 4 follows. That'll be regional. But any final questions before we close? And Amy, if you would be willing to close this in prayer, I'm sure we'll have a few prayer requests before we do that. But any final questions before we close? Was this helpful? Excellent. Thank you all for jumping on. Thank you to the team. I think Priscilla put in the chat all of the contact info for our team members. So if you have a question about something, and I haven't been following the chat a ton because I've been talking. So if there was a direct question you asked me, feel free to email me or text me. Here's my number that I'm gonna put in the chat. You can text me or call me if you have a direct question or a specific need. Feel free to do that. But in closing, any prayer requests, anything we could be lifting up. Before we do that, I just want to say this. I meant to do this at the beginning. I am so grateful to all of you who participated in leading camps over the summer. Like, what a blessing to see. I was able to go to 23 camps and conferences over the course of 5 weeks. And what a blessing. I mean, I was a little exhausted, but what a blessing it was to see God move around our camps, all around our districts. So thank you for the leadership. We were just getting some information about that from a local camp today about salvations and recommitments from some of our kids' camps. But thank you for, man, I'm gonna post something about some reflections I had on the plane at my last one. But thank you for your commitment and your leadership. And there's something we're gonna do special at Follow focused on camps. So stay tuned for that. That's a little teaser. But any prayer requests before Amy closes us in prayer?
Yeah, I'd love some more prayer. My church prayed for me that I'd be able to fly last week. I did my first flying lesson. He was able to get me 4 feet off the ground without having a heart attack. So that's an improvement. This Saturday, he's taking me all the way up. So be praying that the anxiety is done and God's blessing from last Sunday stays in and this is fixed, because this has been 2 nightmarish years of not being able to fly.
Definitely be lifting you up. Thank you, Matthew.
Our new youth pastor kicks things off this Sunday. So it's his first time doing youth ministry. He's a local middle school teacher in our public schools. And I mean, I think he's going to do great, but just prayers for him as he sort of kicks off youth ministry for his first time this Sunday.
Emily, what's his name?
Kennedy Lawrence. I can put it in the chat.
Congratulations. I know that's exciting to have Kennedy step into that role.
If you guys could just pray. I do mini camps every couple months, and our next one is just right around the corner. If you guys would just pray that the Lord just helps me discern and leads me into what our teachings will be and everything.
At some point, Cheyenne, what you're doing in Charleston, I'd love to introduce to the whole group. These mini camps you're doing are like crazy cool. And it might be good for other folks to hear about it, and might be something interesting for them to consider trying at their church. So thank you for that. We'll definitely be praying.
You can pray for us. This past Sunday, we had our entire trailer stolen, and we are a completely mobile church. So we have a lot going on with that. So just praying for Sunday, and just that whole setup process and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, George, what are you guys up to? All right, Amy.
All right, will you all join me in prayer? Heavenly Father God, we just thank you so much for your love for us. We thank you that you are the God who goes before us and behind us, God, that you know every request that's on our heart today. And so, God, we just lift up each and every person who is on this call, and those who are not, God, who are serving our next generation, who have a passion for bringing the gospel and the love and the grace of Jesus. And we just ask God protection over each and every one. God, we just cancel missions and assignments of the enemy that desires to steal, kill, and destroy. And we ask for your continued movement of the Holy Spirit, God, to fall fresh on each one of us. In the places where we're weary, God, will you lift us up? In the places where we're dealing with some of our own like grief or loss or hard things, God, will you be the God of comfort and the God who breathes new life into dry, weary bones? And God, I just pray that as you continue to lead Santees, that you will give him your strength, your mercy, your grace, your vision over the ministry, and God, a pouring out of your blessing and your abundance as he just has so many balls in the air, God, that you'll give him straight direction. And we just thank you for his leadership. We believe that he is anointed for this season. And will you help us be able to align with his mission and his vision? Because, gosh, when we're all gathered, God, driving towards your will and your kingdom, we know that mighty things are going to happen. We thank you that you've cleared the battlefield and you've already won, and that we can just continue to step into the spaces and the places and with the people that you would have us to minister to. God, I specifically want to pray for Matthew, God, that God, you do move mightily to break off the spirit of anxiety, to be able to bring your peace that passes understanding, and that as he is facing boldly the things that are hindering him, God, that you will give him just an extra dose, God, of your love, your comfort, and your strength. And just freedom from and deliverance from what he's experiencing as he flies. God, I pray for Emily. And as she's just welcoming in the new youth pastor, Kennedy, that you will give him just new confidence in the Lord, that you will anoint him to be able to speak the gospel to the youth and to engage in just really personal relationships as he pursues each and every person that you'll bring into the youth ministry this year. God, I pray for Cheyenne. God, I thank you for her boldness to be able to reach out in this new way in these mini camps. God, will you give her wisdom on what it is that the kids that she's encountering and interacting with need to hear? Give her boldness to speak that truth and share your love and grace with them. And I just ask that you expand her territory. And God, I ask that you be with Jordan and the trailer that's been stolen. God, you are the God who parts the seas. You are the God who can move mountains. And so whatever it is that you have planned, the enemy for this Sunday, the enemy clearly doesn't like it. And I just ask God that your plans will still succeed, that no matter whether they have the trailer, return to them. We pray that if that is what needs to happen in order to have your plan succeed on Sunday, that that trailer will be recovered, everything will be restored back to them. But God, if there is another plan, we know that your plans cannot be thwarted by the enemy. And so we claim victory for Sunday. We ask the peace of Christ rest on each and every person who serves in that mobile church, and the power of the Holy Spirit will continue to move mightily in that space. God, I just thank you for this time together. God, may the joining of us together continue to pursue your heart for this next generation and the movement of the Holy Spirit. In your holy name, amen.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, everybody. So good to be with you. Last thing I forgot to mention, some of you, if you're going to any of the Orange regional expressions, would you let us know? We're going to put that out on Facebook as well, to just inquire. Stephanie's going to be at the one in Charlotte in September, and would love to convene the people who are coming to Charlotte. But if you're going to another one, a regional expression of Orange, let us know so that we can convene a group of Wesleyan leaders while we're there. And also know that we do have a discount code that is for curriculum. And so if you're in the process of getting curriculum for Orange, we have a 15% off discount, which is pretty helpful. Somebody emailed me recently and said how much money they saved with our discount. And it's like, that's a lot of crafts you can now buy that you didn't have to cover. So just let us know. We want to make sure we're convening people at some of these regional expressions of events. So God bless. Thank you for being with us. Look forward to seeing you soon.